In a land of ancient traditions and fierce warriors, a tale of power, honor, and betrayal unfolds. Welcome to Shogun, the epic saga that transports viewers to feudal Japan, where samurai clash and the fate of Japan hangs in the balance. At the heart of Shogun is the story of John Blackthorne, an English navigator shipwrecked on the shores of Japan. Captured by samurai, he is thrust into a world of political intrigue and cultural clashes. As Blackthorne struggles to adapt and survive, he forms unlikely alliances and discovers love in the most unexpected places. But his presence threatens to disrupt the delicate balance of power, putting him against a formidable samurai warlord, Toranaga. As Toranaga schemes to consolidate his power and become the next shogun, Blackthorne must choose between loyalty to his homeland and the bonds he has forged in Japan. The stakes are high, and the consequences of his choices will shape a nation. Adapted from James Clavell's best-selling novel, Shogun is a sweeping tale of adventure and discovery, set against the backdrop of a nation in upheaval. With what looks to be stunning visuals, compelling storytelling, and a stellar cast, Shogun promises to be a captivating journey into the heart of feudal Japan. Fade to black with the sounds of... Oh, hey. It's just me. We're just doing a movie trailer style thing, but I'm really excited about Shogun coming out in the next few days. I believe the 27th, and it's going to appear on FX, Disney Plus, and Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. Please, somebody let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but I'm really excited about the show. If you know me and you've been around this channel, you know that I am a connoisseur of Japanese history and martial arts, all that good stuff. You have seen the ink on my arm for years, for example. This is what I've studied since the early 90s, so I'm really excited about Shogun coming out. And so I wanted to do a quick little video on what you can expect to see, and maybe you will like this even if you think you're not interested. So let's take a look at a brief history of when Shogun is going to be set. For those that may not be familiar with Japanese culture or history, Shogun takes place during the Sengoku Jidai, or the Warring States period of Japan, and the class structure at the time. This will give us a better understanding of what the hell is going on. So if you've been around this channel, you probably love, or at least are interested in, the feudal European medieval era, where bloodlines, political maneuvering, and the quest for power play a role in good stories. Think Game of Thrones, obviously, and House of the Dragon. So think of Shogun as the same, only in Japan, and based on real history. The Japanese were well ahead of the Europeans in regard to warfare at the time, not necessarily during this period, but before that, because remember, Japan had been in civil war for centuries, and in short, it was a way of life and an art form. So in medieval Europe, as far as the shows we enjoy like Game of Thrones, you had a class structure such as kings and queens, then you had the lords, then you had the knights, and finally all the peasants, which were all subjugated by the classes above them. And that was the basic structure of society. And just like many other nations around the world during that time period, it was very similar in feudal Japan. Only you had the emperor, or tenno, which had no real power at the time, depending on the era and the exact period. And then you had a shogun from time to time as well, which was the highest ruling military officer, and who a lot of the lords wanted to be. And below the shogun, you had the lords, or known as daimyo. The daimyo were actually the ones who ruled most of Japan due to their bloodlines and their land holdings. They essentially owned all the land and therefore all the crops, specifically rice, which was a tax in and of itself. Then the servants of the daimyo were the bushi class, or the warriors, otherwise known as samurai, which actually means those who serve, and of course they served their lords, or daimyo. Now there were also samurai that did not have masters, and they were known as ronin. And then finally in this social structure you also had the peasants, also known as nomin, which consisted mostly of farmers, but you also had artisans and others as well. And then again, there were some other sub-levels to all these little classes during different periods of time, but I think you get the idea. So yes, very similar to feudal societies throughout the world, including the European societies. And of course, being Japan, I'm sure this will explore the code of the samurai, otherwise known as bushido, which I'm sure from real history it wasn't always adhered to. So as far as the show, it will cover the ending of the 16th century and the early part of the 17th century in Japan, of course, mostly around the year 1600 of the 17th century and a little bit beyond that as well. Again, focusing on John Blackthorne, played by Cosmo Jarvis, and based off the real-life William Adams, who is actually English and shipwrecked on the shores of Japan for the show. Again, he was captured by the samurai and not allowed to leave Japan, so again he is kind of thrusted into this world of political intrigue and cultural clashes, where he must kind of learn this strange culture in order to survive. Now, in order to survive, of course, he probably has to integrate into this culture and may or may not play a key role in Japan in itself and the establishment of a new shogunate. Also, if you guys know, I've talked about it before, Shogun stars one of my favorite actors, Hiroyuki Sanada, and he is known for various roles from The Last Samurai to John Wick 4, and he will play the formidable warlord Yoshi Toranaga, who I mentioned before, and he will also go by another name at a later time, which I won't spoil here. So far, the trailers look outstanding, so if you like shows featuring political intrigue, the exploration of loyalty and honor and personal relationships, and all based on real history, then I think you will enjoy Shogun. So if this show is as good as I think it's going to be, I will definitely be covering it from week to week and doing reviews and possibly even live streams, so let me know if that's something you're interested in. And if that interests you, there is a subscribe button down below somewhere. So thanks for watching. Shikin Harimitsu Daikamyo.